Hello.
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 All right.
Put the lights on.
Welcome to another episode of Cloud Native Weekly, episode 11, Trace Gazing. We're going to take a look at some OpenTelemetry today. But before we do that, we have to discuss the week. And then we go into the news, but I'm guessing maybe throughout the discussion, we'll probably touch upon some news. Some pretty big stuff happened past week. But Richard, how was your week?
Yeah, not too bad. Been doing a lot of Azure Sentinel kind of work. Making security is quite an important thing, and we've got to make sure we got it all covered. So yeah, it's been fun. How about you, Karl?
Yeah, busy week so far. Not so much cloud native this week, which always makes me a bit sad, but sure. Lots of Azure Monitor writing logs in infrastructure as code language we used to call Terraform. More on that in a few minutes.
There we go. I thought it was going to take a couple of minutes. But
What about your week, Wesley?
my week has been interesting. No, done some community stuff, some bicep. Also been secretly studying for some CKA stuff because Richard keeps nagging me to get it done.
Why secretly?
Because if I tell him I had been studying, then he's like, "Oh, you should book the exam next week and do it."
Dude, you know he's here, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right, okay, just check.
I'm just writing some notes down. 1 second. Book the exam.
Hello, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
How are you?
Some studying in the evenings. Listening to my wife doing some home improvement stuff because I totally suck at that. So
it's how it goes
Sounds
in my
like
house
Karl.
too. I'm not allowed.
No, me neither.
This awesome room with the fantastic paint job and furniture and stuff was all my wife because I am terrible at it.
Same. When I do commit to it and let's do it, it usually lasts about 10 minutes until I lose my temper and I'm just not good at it, and it also looks horrible.
Yeah.
Just no. But it's been a good week. It's been a very good week. Nice temperatures as well. It's a bit hot, so.
Is it?
Okay. Yeah, it is over here. Well, not now, but yesterday it was. It was.
Not being that warm here. About 20 degrees currently, which isn't too bad.
Yeah, if even that. At least it's not raining right now, so I mean that's good, right?
That's good, yeah.
Right.
Shall we, before we get on to the real news, shall we talk about the elephant in the room? Shall we talk about HashiCorp?
Yeah, let's not do that in the news section. Let's do it now.
Yeah.
So, what happened to HashiCorp, or what happened? What did they do?
So they switched from what was it, Mozilla something license, MPL license to what they're calling a business source license. So effectively moving away from open source, and their licensing terms seem to indicate that anyone that could be seen as competing with HashiCorp or any of HashiCorp's products or projects need a license or are forbidden from using Terraform. Now, there's a lot of ambiguity in the licensing, and there's a lot of questions and concern out there around. Well, yeah, why are HashiCorp doing this? And we could get into the why and the probably because companies are building on their product to make money, but it then has a ripple effect. So people, I mean, I'm currently considering rewriting my AKS playground into Bicep just because.
Do it.
But it has a ripple effect, which is the concern. It's not just Terraform. Terraform is ubiquitous in the infrastructure as code space because everyone uses it. It's cloud agnostic, and to change this tact and to change all of the tooling that lots of companies are now relying on, and then to have that consideration as to whether you're in breach of licensing terms or need a license or whatever, that will make a lot of companies just step back and go, yeah, should we use this? And then that then spills into, I'll get off my soapbox in a minute, Wesley, because I know you want to talk. But then that spills into other open source use. I mean, companies can consider other open source tooling that they're using, and whether they can afford to rely on it, or will the rug be pulled out from under them in the future by a licensing change?
Definitely.
Because it has across the entire industry, this sort of action. What do you think?
Well, I think that the big, other than, I mean, I get it, I understand it, but the way it's being executed and the way it's documented, and like you said, that it's not very clear on what it means, right? There's just so much confusion, and I think that confusion, or how ambiguous the whole thing is what makes companies and people make different choices. And I think that will probably have a bigger effect than just charging money for something, right? I mean, companies have done it in the past, and you can decide to go with it or not go with it and choose an alternative. But now, because there's such a big uncertainty here, that's what's gonna, well, that's my opinion. That's what I think will make companies make different choices and probably not have the effect that HashiCorp desired, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I always see this BSL license as something else, but I probably shouldn't say it on the stream because one of those words is a bad word. But it's definitely a bull something license, in my opinion. But
yeah, I mean,
I agree with that.
There are other infrastructures, code languages, right? There are native ones to the various clouds, like CloudFormation in AWS and ARM and Bicep in Azure, and whatever Google's is, because I don't know. But there is native tooling, and there is still alternatives out there. So I mean, I expect that a lot of companies will start to consider what they're using going forward, and that will be really difficult for multi-cloud teams, because learning Terraform, yes, you had to learn the various providers and stuff for the various clouds, but learning Terraform, once you'd learn Terraform and the logic and how it does things, then that's transferable across the clouds. And we'll see what happens next. There's obviously stuff out there and movements out there to like OpenTF and stuff like that about trying to move what they're calling legacy MPL Terraform, so Terraform before the license change this week, into a foundation where it will continue to be supported. Now, it's also notable that the companies that and organizations that are spearheading that are also the companies and organizations that were making money off the open source Terraform stuff. So, as with everything, take it with a pinch of salt, and we'll wait to see what happens next, I suppose.
Definitely.
Yeah. But a couple of shows ago, we said maybe we should do a Bicep versus Terraform throwdown.
Celebrity deathmatch.
Guess that ain't happening.
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll see. We'll see what the future brings.
Yeah. We'll see what the landscape looks like in 6 months, and we'll see. Maybe we'll resurrect that idea.
We'll see. All right. We're on to cloud native news.
Sure.
All right. Well, we already did the elephant in the room. So what else is new?
Now that we've dealt with the controversy, what else have we got? Not
well,
quite new.
We still have some. Well, it depends on if Rich is going to share his opinion, but we might have some other controversy.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm at the bottom today trying to look over. That's just my life, being a short person,
Still see you.
Yeah.
CNCF ambassador applications are still open, so if you're contributing to the community or doing stuff around cloud native and Kubernetes, get your application in. I know Richard's very nervous, waiting to see if he'll make it in this time around.
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm still going to continue doing what I do because I love it.
Doesn't appear to be nervous to me. I stand corrected. All right. Next up, then, is something we've had from last week as well. Last few
Yes.
weeks is Cilium and the proposal to graduate. Cilium is my current obsession in the cloud native world. I'm working my way through the labs that we looked at on the map last week. I want to learn everything because it does so much. The network policies, ingress, service meshes, security, visibility, observability, which interestingly enough we're talking about observability today. But yep, get your public comment in there and let's push it towards graduation.
It's like
You're
every
gonna
third
become,
message of yours is about Cilium, it seems, lately.
I was going to say you're going to be a Cilium ambassador at some point, if that exists. You kind of are already.
It doesn't, because I looked. But if Thomas Graff or Liz Rice is watching, that's something you want to do. Cilium ambassador, I'll be your first applicant.
Yeah,
Do we
we've
get
got
like
this WhatsApp group?
like bees? Yeah.
We've got this WhatsApp
Yes.
group, and then
There'll
Karl
be-
always mentions Cilium every other day. I don't have to be. I have the other. I don't have to be.
Hang on, bring that back here. Is that like knitted? Is that wool?
Yeah. This is another one. It's like crocheted. So I got
Did
two.
Did you make it?
No, one was from KubeCon Detroit or Amsterdam. I can't remember which one. Yeah, I think it was Detroit. And it was from the Cilium booth, which is cool. And the other one I had for a little while.
I think there's
Because
plenty of
of
space up
Cilium.
behind me for some bees. So yeah.
I can totally see you knitting.
Oh yes, you should do it, Karl.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Deal. Okay, moving on. Let's, one of you two want to take this one?
Richard, because I didn't read up on it.
I've not read too much on it. So I see a tweet about this. So the CNCF Technical Advisory Board for end users. So if you're part of the CNCF end user stuff, you can take part in here and give advice to the CNCF about things and that. So go and check this out if you are a member of the CNCF at the end user level.
Yeah, it's all about having that input on how your favorite projects develop and the road mapping and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. Be interesting to see where that goes. All right, Planter Needies.
Planter Needies.
I do like this. The logo is just so nice. I really want it as a sticker.
Maybe we can create one. But well, I think the news is new version of Kubernetes out there, 128, and I mean you can read up on it. A bunch of new features, but also AKS support for Kubernetes 127, which is now GA, which means that all three big public clouds, AWS, Azure, and GCP, now support version 1.27 of Kubernetes.
Awesome news.
Yeah, let's wait another couple of months for the next version. And,
who do you think out of the big three will support 128 first? I think last time it was Amazon that supported 127 first. So it'd be interesting to see.
I think now Azure was last, wasn't it?
To go GA, yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. The battle of the clouds.
Yes.
All right. This is your favorite topic, Richard.
Oh, yes. Azure Container Apps. Woo!
Controversy. Let's go. What's your opinion on ACA? Okay, what's new in ACA?
Yeah, let's do what's new. Let's not ask my opinion. It could be bad.
So we've had lots of, I'll save Richard for a second, but we've had lots of updates in the last couple of days around Azure Container Apps. So if you don't know, it's Azure Container Apps is Microsoft or Azure's serverless container. It's effectively super abstracted Kubernetes where you just get to run your apps, your containerized applications. If you don't need the full overhead and flexibility and general awesomeness of Kubernetes, then run stuff in container apps. But this last few days, we've had a few bits and pieces released. Actually, quite a lot of news. We've had init containers with Azure Container Apps. We've had mounting of secrets and then ultimately mounting of Key Vault secrets to use with your container apps. And then what was the last one? Sticky sessions.
Session affinity.
session affinity, so sticky sessions. If you're building applications that are handling state or data or something inside the container, or something that means that your customers, your clients, your users need to stick with the container or the pod that they hit initially, then this is for you. I'd encourage you not to build your container apps that way. If you can, go for stateless over stateful, preferably. But I mean, as we talk often, the drive towards enterprises using this sort of tech, you're gonna need to account for some legacy stateful sort of applications, right?
So here's the thing, right? There's always a use case for ACA, small use cases, very specific stuff. If you don't need the whole Kubernetes thing, but you just mentioned, if you don't need or don't want all the Kubernetes overhead, and that argument is kind of becoming invalid. I mean, at the pace features are being added in the end, because this is Kubernetes abstracted away. I mean, the overhead's still going to be there. I mean, I don't know if you're paying for it, or I don't know, but at some point, this is just, it's my opinion, is becoming more and more a Kubernetes implementation with limitations, where you can't do everything you want, but you do have all those features. And I think, if you look at, mounting secrets and key vault and all the drivers and all the stuff that's being installed is being maintained for you, that's a good thing. You've got part of that in AKS as well. But I wonder how big or how many features ACA will get going forward, and how thin the line between ACA and Kubernetes will become. I think that's a very interesting development. At some point, are they going to stop and, hey, this is ACA, period? Or are they going to keep adding and maybe even shoot for feature parity with AKS, which kind of defeats the purpose? But interesting development.
It almost becomes AKS light then. Like
bubble wrapped version of AKS. That's how I'm calling it now. My other method, a bubble wrapped version of AKS.
You need that demarcation line between the two, is when it's appropriate to use ACA and when you should really be looking at full blown AKS.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely,
for sure.
All right.
Well, that was the news for today and the controversy.
Yes.
Let's talk observability.
Sure, let me press the right button this time. Hey, so today we're talking about OpenTelemetry. So OpenTelemetry is an incubating CNCF project. It's basically an observability framework designed to create telemetry data like traces and metrics and logs, and send them to your, what they call in their documentation, an observability backend, like Azure Monitor, Log Analytics Workspace in Azure, and that sort of stuff. It's vendor agnostic, tool agnostic, according to their documentation. So basically, you can plug it in pretty much anywhere and start, tooling your applications to stream important telemetry out to backends like Jaeger is what we're going to see here, so that your developers and your ops folks can get involved and find out where the problems are in your application and get them fixed. So observability is super important. It helps. It's important in the cloud native world to understand the state of your application, and you can't understand the state of your application without looking at the telemetry. And when we say telemetry, we're talking like traces and metrics and logging. So let's just have a quick look. The OpenTelemetry website, as we've got here, we can learn more. There's a demo which we've deployed, and we'll have a quick look, a good first look around it. But you can get into learning more about OpenTelemetry if you're a dev or if you're from the ops perspective. And it gives you information on what is OpenTelemetry. How can you instrument your applications without touching the application code? So for depending on the language that your application is coded in or written in, they have an auto instrumentation functionality that goes and does what it says in the tin. It goes and instruments your application to send telemetry out using OpenTelemetry. But it doesn't work with everything. Sometimes you have to manually instrument your code. Sometimes you want to manually instrument your code because you know what's happening. But yep, from an ops perspective, you can get started, what it is, how you're setting up the collector, and how you can use a Kubernetes operator for running OpenTelemetry and that automatic instrumentation functionality inside your cluster as well.
Very
That's
cool.
pretty cool. So same thing for developers, same sort of functionality. How can you instrument dependencies without touching the code? Okay, so as I said, there is a demo. We deployed the one for Kubernetes, obviously there's one for Docker as well. And the really good thing here, I know we only have 10 minutes, but the really good thing here is there's an awful lot of thought and an awful lot of consideration going into the learning this product and learning the project, and how to get to grips with it and how it impacts your application or your code base. Because this demo isn't just a simple application with a bit of instrumentation and a few traces and metrics coming out of it. I'll show you the architecture diagram in a minute, but the demo is multiple microservices all working together using HTTP and gRPC calls between each other. And they're all written in multiple languages. So you can see in the documentation here, we've got .NET, C++, Go, Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, and even Rust has made it in here. And you can see the instrumentation libraries and the manual instrumentation steps for each of these so that you can have a look and learn how they've accomplished what you're about to see in the demo. So that I think it's really important from most of us learn by doing and by seeing. So it's important to get to grips with that. And nice work, the folks behind OpenTelemetry, because having this sort of stuff documented is a really important step to driving adoption of your tooling. Again, service documentation and stuff there as well. So I've already installed this, as we'll see when we get to my shell, but you can install it with Helm and you can install it with kubectl. Okay, I'm using port forwarding today, but you also, so you please abuse me because I abused both of you recently for using port forwarding.
Wait.
Okay, do you want me to? Yep.
There it is.
Okay. Yes.
For it.
So we're using port forwarding. There's going to be no orphan ports or anything kicking around, because as soon as this demo is finished and as soon as we stop being live, this cluster will be deleted. So it is super ephemeral. It'll be gone before I have my lunch. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the demo architecture before we get into actually having a poke around and seeing how it's put together. So this is pretty hard to see, so I apologize for that. Oh, there we go. But as you can see, again, really well thought out about how everything's put together and how the various services talk to each other and on using what protocols they talk to each other as well. So that's really pretty interesting. As you can see, plenty of cloud native development techniques happening here as well, because from your checkout service, you're dropping into a Kafka queue there, and then that's picked up then by your accounting service and your fraud detection service. So it's again, cloud native development mindset about decoupling your various microservices and not having them depend on each other. So if something happens with the fraud detection service, the checkout service doesn't care. It's dropped it into the Kafka queue, and once the fraud detection service is back up and running, then it can pick things up again. Okay. Yeah, as mentioned on the previous screen, we have a lot of different languages in use here, and that's deliberate from the point of OpenTelemetry, so that you can see how easy and simple it is to use their tooling on multiple application types and languages. And then quickly the data flow for the telemetry and how it flows, what it flows through, and how ultimately, whether it's via Prometheus or Jaeger or Grafana, it ends up in a UI that you can use to diagnose stuff. Okay, so
Nice.
We talked earlier as well about OpenTelemetry supporting lots of different vendors. So as you can see, there's lots like Jaeger, which we're using today, Grafana, which we're using today, but also AWS and Azure Monitor as well. So there's lots of different things that you can plug this tooling into, which is pretty awesome.
That's loads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So even SolarWinds. So we talked about what OpenTelemetry is. The demo, as I said, really well thought out, and the demo applications, not just the microservices, that form the application functionality, but they've also thought about adding Jaeger for your observability backend, so you can see the traces and you can see the metrics and the information. They've added Locust, which Jaeger and Locust, this is the first time I'm getting to look at these. So we've added Jaeger and Locust to this demo as well, without you having to think about it, so that you can use Locust to load test your application to sort of generate those metrics that you want to play with. And Jaeger, and we'll see in a second, the Jaeger, so you can actually visualize those traces and those metrics. So first up, before we jump to the website, I'm just going to hop across to Locust implementation. Yes, because I'm using port forwarding, I'm using localhost. So yep, I'm just going to up the running users using Locust so that we can create a bit of load on the system. As you can see, that started to, I know that's probably hard to see, but that started to climb.
Yep.
Okay. So let's have a quick look ourselves at so this is the application front end that you drop into when you're using the OpenTelemetry demo. So, at OpenTelemetry, their diagram over here is a telescope. So it's fitting that their little e-commerce platform is telescopes. So let's have a look at what we've got. Want to buy ourselves some telescopes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Telescope's that expensive?
It's okay.
That's
you haven't
cheap.
seen the most. What do you see? Hang on. Let's add that to the cart too. A little bit of shopping. Oh, here, look. Optical tube assembly, whatever that is ridiculously expensive. But sure,
Might as
we'll
well
add
get
that
one
to
of
the
them as
cart, too.
well.
Yeah, why
I
not?
can
Why
imagine
not?
this is how you go through Amazon.
That's why I'm not allowed to log into Amazon. And we'll just add binoculars for absolutely no reason while we're here.
Sure, they look cool.
And then, so we've got our cart here. We're just sending them to somewhere in Mountain View, California. Anybody want to try buying anything on that credit card? Fill your boots. Let's place the order. That was real quick. So apparently I'll get a confirmation email. There we go. So now that we've used this e-commerce site a bit, now that we're using Locust to generate some load, let's go and have a look at the dashboards. So we have Grafana here, and they've pre-created some demo dashboards, okay, for us to have a look at. And you can see the recommendation service is the thing that we'll be focusing on, but you can see the CPU spikes in the recommendation service. So obviously, I've just increased the load, and we can see that there's some, now it's up to 2%, so it's not a massive deal, but you can see the CPU spikes, and you can see the count of recommendations. So recommendations here are this bit at the bottom you may also like. So that in the architecture, your front end or whatever page you happen to be on or whatever service you happen to use triggers the recommendation service that picks up these recommendations from what should be a cache, which I'm going to turn off. So one of the things they loaded in here was the ability to use feature flags as well. So they've pre-configured like failure scenarios, like the recommendation cache being off. So then that generates errors and that generates latency that then you can see in Jaeger. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that on. So as I say, today's just a first look where I'm skipping over a lot of functionality, but it's just a first look at what OpenTelemetry is and just how good this demo is to allow you to get to grips with this sort of stuff in a multi-language microservice environment.
Nice.
Almost got the words out there. So let's just have a look at Jaeger. So Jaeger, nothing happening here at the minute. So I look at the front end because that's how I'm coming in, through the front end, through the web front end, and we'll have a look at the traces when there we go, when things behave themselves. Okay,
I do like the logo of Jaeger. That's very cool.
Yeah, the Go Gopher. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I need to get a Go Gopher for up there too. So we'll add a B and a Go Gopher.
Nice.
We'll not add a Python because no.
Anyway,
so for the traces for the last 30 minutes from the front end, you can see how quick those complete. what other services they're using, like the product catalog. So, I mean, fairly straightforward sort of information you expect to get in this sort of observability backend. Okay. Because I've just increased the load and turned on an error, I'm going to see if we can find some traces that are a bit longer. Okay. So longest first. Here we go. So we've got one at about 33 milliseconds to complete there. Okay. We'll just use that. So again, we can click into this and then we can see how long each service or microservice in this functionality takes to complete. So the as you can see, most of the timing for this to complete was at the checkout service. Then you can
That's
drill
pretty
in
cool.
and see what the process is up to. We can see that the pod and the container itself is running on Alpine Linux. Command arguments and etc. there as
That's
well.
really cool.
You can see it's run and go. Okay, and then we can see tags as well. So how many items were in the cart, how many orders, etc.
That's
So
really cool.
if
So
you're then, I know, yeah, I know we're really short on time, but the general idea here is that you can use this, and it doesn't matter what the back end is, whether it is Azure Monitor, AWS, or what it is. You can use the information that's coming out of OpenTelemetry, being generated and exported by OpenTelemetry, to get a grip on what's actually happening within your application. So then, using this sort of functionality will allow you to drop in and figure out where your problem is. So you'll notice a few minutes ago that I turned on a feature flag to turn off the cached recommendations. So that's actually made its way through to adding almost 50 milliseconds of latency to page render in this case. And we can see it's because if we click on it and drill down, we can see that it's because the app cache isn't being hit. And that's effectively the feature flag that told the application not to use the app cache or the recommendation cache. So again, the demo is really thought out. In conclusion, the demo is really well thought out. It's not just about OpenTelemetry and a backend to dump the data. They've thought about how you're going to graph that data here, how you're going to simulate load. You're not getting 20 of your mates in dev in your dev team to jump on the application at once. You're using they've thought about having all of this bundled together in a demo, and as I say, in conclusion, it's just really, really well thought out. So if you haven't used OpenTelemetry before, you're only starting to get to grips with it, go and use the demo, go and deploy the demo, and see what you think. What do you think, gents?
Looks really nice.
It looks really good. I really like how it uses different products, but it's kind of like OpenTelemetry is like standardizing your observability from the start, and then you can just chuck whatever UI or tool you want to dig through that data at it. That's pretty cool.
That's exactly it. I mean, look at this list for it is that standardized protocol or way of creating and exporting telemetry, because I mean we have 30 or more in this list of places that we can export this to, and I think go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking that this is kind of the thing you're missing when you commit to a specific public cloud or a specific native technology to that public cloud, where you're locked into whatever they provide, and this is like the way out of that. It's like it almost sounds like a no-brainer. Just do it.
It is. I mean, if you're deploying stuff in Azure previously, although they're now starting to support OpenTelemetry as shown in this list, but we'll just jump out of the demo here for a second. But because they're now supporting OpenTelemetry, it allows you to tool and instrument your applications with an agnostic tooling, and then it increases. The whole point around cloud native and Kubernetes is the portability of your applications. So this then just goes and supports that portability. I mean, we talked about Dapper a few weeks ago, but you could add the likes of Dapper in here, and it even adds another layer of abstractions so that you effectively don't need to worry about what the various backends are. Your application is instrumented in the same way, pretty much. You know?
Nice.
Was that
That's
that
really
lunch,
good.
Wesley?
I just, yeah, I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
Mhm. You really are.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I mean that was a quick whistle stop tour of OpenTelemetry, and it's I mean we're all ops focused folks here, you know.
Yeah.
So you know it's important for us to understand the telemetry and the observability side of things as well. But you know we can really get into this demo and all the documentation that they have, whether you're a dev or whether you're ops focused, you know. So I look forward to having another play with it.
Yeah, it looks really good.
All
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
No
thank you
problem.
very much. That was a good demo, and I really didn't expect the demo to be so elaborate with all the different technologies. That's pretty cool.
Well, I can't accept any credit for it whatsoever. It's all OpenTelemetry's demo.
Well,
So
you presented it.
Yeah.
I ran the Helm install command, so I'll accept credit for that. Yeah, clicked about
All
and
right.
port forwarded and such. But yeah, recommendation here is spin up a little cluster, spin up something on Docker, Docker or Kubernetes. They have documentation for running the demo on both, and just have a play, get to grips, and see what OpenTelemetry can do for you.
Awesome.
All right.
So
Thank you.
We're a bit over time, so
Only 6
sorry.
minutes.
That's Terraform's fault, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Terraform's fault.
Another bad thing they did, make us overrun.
I think that's it for this week, guys.
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me. We'll
We
decide
need
what
to
next
figure out
week's
next
topic
week.
is.
Yeah.
Se- se-
that
security topic
offline.
for next week.
Oh, we could do a security thing.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let's do a security thing.
We'll
We'll
figure out
think of
what
something
that is.
today or tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure it out. But for now, thank you for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining. We'll talk
Thanks.
to you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.